Hey, and welcome to INTRAFITT Advanced Exercise Science. I'm Will Smith. I want to talk to you today about the applied sciences of isotonic training, or training with weight training equipment. There's a lot of misconception in the industry about what you should do and how much you should do in terms of sets and reps and what exercises you should combine with each other. So I want to talk to you a little bit today about the applications associated with weight training. This is really important to understand because until you learn the application, nothing that you do in a weight room is going to really work the way that you want it to. Later we'll talk about protocol, and we'll talk about combining sets and reps and different exercises to make the applications work better for you. But the first thing you have to learn is application. There are three applications in the applied sciences that we teach with INTRAFITT, starting with the proper biomechanics, anatomical focal points, and full range contractions. I want to start with proper biomechanics because it deals with the proper positioning of the skeletal system, and the objective is to maximize the amount of resistance that you're applying to a specific muscle. Now, with these applications, the whole goal is to learn how to train in isolation. When you learn how to train muscles in isolation, you won't end up with any weak body parts. And the good news there is that if you're playing sports like football or contact sports like hockey and lacrosse and so forth, when you get out on the field, you won't be easily moved by your opponent. Because when your muscles are trained in isolation and you come together as a unit out on the field, you will have double the power and double the speed and double the momentum that you had before you started the program. So in learning these applications, you want to be very careful to get your body positioned correctly, and we're going to go through some exercises here today to teach you these applications hands-on so you'll have some better understanding of how these applications apply and how they work. But I just want to kind of explain it briefly before we start. So when we set up with the proper biomechanics, we're actually creating alignment with the body so that there isn't any misalignment or likelihood of injury. So the proper biomechanic deals with the positioning of the skeletal system, designed to maximize the workload being applied to a muscle or a specific group of muscles. The next application deals with what we call anatomical focal points. When you use anatomical focal points, you're using a pushing and pulling point of the anatomy of the body that will minimize the use of other auxiliary body parts. And a common exercise that we see people doing incorrectly is a bench press. And when we perform that exercise today, you'll see exactly what we're talking about. But for example, if you lay down on a bench to perform a bench press, most often you'll see people lower the bar to the middle or lower part of the pecs instead of the upper part or to the clavicle. There's this bone at the bottom of the throat, we call it the clavicle. And so this is where the bar is supposed to drop to in a bench press. The alignment of the elbows is essential, and the wrist position is essential. And so when these applications are consistent and they're in place, and you start using focal point applications to push and pull from, you will minimize the use of auxiliary body parts. And so in doing a bench press, you'll only train through the pectoral muscles, and you won't train through the front of the delts or the anterior delts. You won't train through the triceps, the back of the biceps, and other body parts that typically come into play when your elbows aren't in correct alignment. The third application that you'll learn today is called a full range contraction. And a full range contraction deals with maximizing the recruitment of muscle fibers in a given muscle. Now, in all whole muscles of the human body, there are thousands of muscle fibers called myofibrils. These muscle fibers work to contract at 100% or not at all. So a muscle fiber won't contract partially. It'll either contract at 100% or it won't contract at all. And so what controls what we call a graded contraction, or a muscle's ability to contract or to oppose a given force to a certain extent, is the number of contracting fibers and the size of the contracting fibers. And so when you learn full range contractions, what you're actually learning how to do is to recruit the maximum number of fibers that will automatically innervate at 100%. When that happens, you will immediately have more strength, or what we call more force generating capacity, and as a result, you'll be able to use more resistance. And the key to building bigger muscles is to tear the muscle down more completely. Remember, this is all about tearing muscle fibers down. Weight training is not about building your body up, it's about tearing the body down. It's your diet that works to build your body up, and so if your diet isn't, where it needs to be, if you're not following a properly balanced whole natural food diet, then you should really look into that, and we can help you with that as well. But the objective with the full range contraction, one, is to increase the force generating capacity of the muscle, so that you can handle more resistance, so that you can tear a muscle down more completely, and so that you can accelerate muscle strength and hypertrophy more efficiently. So these are the three applications that you're going to learn in this training program today. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email us at info@intrafitt.com. That's info@intrafitt.com.